Are you in New York or?
Yes, we're in New York.
New York?
4,
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
President Carter, when you were the governor and president, you were the hero of Plains, Georgia. Do you still feel like a hero, and are you treated like one?
Well, I'm treated like Jimmy, and Rosalyn's treated like Rosalyn. These are folks that knew me and knew my mom and daddy and Rosalyn's mother and daddy.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a tiny community, only about 650 people, that, we're just one of the crowd. And we go to church and we take part in local and civic affairs. We go to the annual celebration of Plains' birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's just like being at home, which it is.
Do you two still teach Sunday school? Is that true?
Yeah, every Sunday that we're in Plains, I teach, and so does Rosalyn. I teach the adult class, which has a lot of visitors in it. Rosalyn teaches the young people high school age.
Mrs. Carter, has Plains changed since you, quote-unquote, put it on the map?
Well, it's changed a little bit because now it's a National Historic Site.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a good many tourists that come through Plains, but the people have not changed, and that was one good thing about going home. We could just be Jimmy and Rosalyn Carter at home and didn't have to put on, well, not really put on, but be on stage for people who didn't know us all the time. So it's good to have. I think having a home like Plains gives you that kind of stability that's really important.
President Carter, after leaving the White House in 1981, do you feel at all like the public and possibly your political associates turned their back on you, so to speak?
Well, I think for a little while, because we had a very divisive campaign, as you remember, in 1980. The Ted Kennedy crowd, the more liberal wing of the Democratic Party, went one direction and I went in the other, and it partially cost us the election. I think all those wounds or divisions have been healed now. We had a very harmonious Democratic convention in Atlanta this year. I think the best one since, I would say 1964. And so I think all those problems have been healed.
Mrs. Carter, after President Carter lost the election in 1980, I understand it didn't affect him very much because he was really busy and you had a lot of time to think about it. Tell me about that period. What was going on in your life?
Well, I was devastated when Jimmy lost the election, and we wrote this book, Everything to Gain, about our feelings. The first chapter of that book is about the crises, losing the election and having to come home, and about how I felt and how Jimmy felt. He, the next day, was still president and could go on, had responsibilities and duties and that he had to do, but for a short time in there, before I got very busy with Christmas activities at the White House, there was a time when I just didn't know what we were going to do. I think neither one knew what we were going to do. We had not planned to go home. I thought going back to Plains would be the end of the world. It was devastating. But as we wrote in the book, we got home, we were swamped. We had lived in our house in 10 years. We had agreed to write books. We had to raise $25 million to build the Carter Presidential Library, and so we immediately had to just dig in and do so many things that helped you get over that hurt and disappointment.
Let me ask you first, Mrs. Carter. Is President Carter a hard man to co-write a book with?
It's almost impossible. We don't have the same memories. We don't express ourselves the same way. He accused me of being too emotional, putting too much of my private feelings and personal feelings into the book. I accused him of being too sterile, not wanting anybody to know how he felt. I write like I'm writing to my mother, which is very simple. He doesn't write that way. He uses a lot more bigger words that I'll try to take out.
More like speech
We just
writing.
disagreed on everything.
President Carter, what's it like writing with your wife?
Terrible, and I will never do it again, and neither will she. We've been married now 42 years. It's the worst experience we ever had with each other.
But it's a good book.
Well, it's a good book because we finally kind of had a referee, our editor, and some paragraphs have got J on them. That's the ones I wrote. Some have R on them. That's what Rosalyn wrote. But it's impossible to imagine how difficult it was trying to remember exactly what happened and put it in identical words. You can't agree on 95%. You've got to agree on 100%, including adjectives and adverbs. And then she had a very different reaction to things than what I did. So, well, I think we finally worked it out, but it's something we'll never do again.
We both wrote the book, all of it, but those little paragraphs that are marked with R and J are where we disagreed most of the time. All of it doesn't cover disagreements, but when I had to express my own feelings and he had to express his.
Did you both realize that you're stronger than you thought you were?
Just to
Having lived
survive
through
that-
this, having lived through this experience.
Yeah, just to survive that experience indicated to me that I was stronger than I thought I was.
The same feeling.
we have overcome it, but there's still some parts of the book that we don't discuss with each other in order to maintain harmony in our house. Other than that, we get along just fine, as a matter of fact, and have a great life. And I think the book shows that no matter what happens to you in your life, John, no matter what kind of setback, or no matter what age it happens in, that you still have opportunities that will give you a full and satisfying and gratifying and adventurous, unpredictable, happy life.
And we thought that if we wrote about how we overcame our crisis, that it might help other people who are going through not similar things like losing an election, but similar in the fact that a disappointment, a death in the family, a loss of job, just a change that is not pleasant. How you can overcome that and go on to have a fulfilling life.
President Carter, let me ask you quickly, does the general public know who you are and what you're all about as a person?
I think it's impossible for the public ever to know enough about a public figure who has been governor, who has been president. One of the reasons we wanted people to read this book, John, is to let them know about us. I think this reveals things in our character, in our background, in our home life, in our future, in our present life, that no one would otherwise have known. And so I think just from a historical point of view, the book is interesting. But how our experiences can be exactly parallel to someone who's a news broadcaster or fireman or a school teacher, I think, is a contribution that's worthwhile.
When you were in office, stand-up comedians had a field day with Jimmy Carter impersonations. Without putting you on the spot, can you give me your best Jimmy Carter impersonation?
Well, I'm doing it now. As a matter of fact, they've done that with devastating effect against Richard Nixon, against Jerry Ford, against Ronald Reagan, against George Bush. And I really enjoy it when they do it to those other people. I never did enjoy it much when they did it to me.
Uh-huh. So
It's
you're
not
doing it
performing
now.
with somebody else.
President Carter, Mrs. Carter, thank you very much for being with us, and good luck.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you.
We appreciate having a chance to talk to the folks around Nashville.
Alrighty, bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.